The observation deck of the Valiant's Hope hummed with the quiet efficiency of a warship at rest. Myra Solon stood before the viewport, her reflection ghosting across the stars beyond. The scar tissue on her left forearm caught the light 3 parallel lines, raised and silver against her brown skin. She traced them absently, the way one might worry a prayer bead. "Captain Solon, the Krixathi delegation has arrived." She turned to find her first officer, Commander Hayes, standing at attention. Beyond him, the airlock hissed open and the delegation entered. 7 Krixathi, their fur rippling in patterns that spoke of diplomatic courtesy. At their center walked Cub Jarek, though Cub was a misnomer now. He stood nearly 3 meters tall, his ceremonial armor gleaming with the achievements of 2 decades. Myra's breath caught. The last time she'd seen him, he'd barely reached her shoulder. "Captain," Jarek's voice rumbled, the universal translator rendering his words in perfect standard. "It honors me to stand before you again." "Ambassador Jarek," Myra replied, her voice steady despite the thunder in her chest. "Welcome aboard." The negotiations lasted 6 hours. The Krixathi wanted human expertise in stellar cartography. Humanity wanted access to Krixathi biomedical technology. It was a dance Myra had performed 100 times, but never with a partner who looked at her with such intensity, such searching. When the delegation retired to their quarters, Jarek lingered. "You don't remember me," he said. Not a question. Myra's fingers found her scars again. "I remember the rescue at Theta Cygni. I remember the Krixathi cubs we evacuated. Beyond that, she shook her head. The medical report says I took a plasma burst to the head. Selective memory loss. Some things are just gone." Jarek's ears flattened grief in Krixathi body language. "You saved 43 cubs that day. I was number 43. I've read the reports. Reports don't tell you that you carried me for 3 kilometers through burning corridors," Jarek interrupted, stepping closer. "That when the bulkhead collapsed, you shielded me with your own body. That the last thing you said before you went back from war was, 'I'll be back, little one. Count to 1,000. I'll be back before you're done.'" Myra felt something twist in her chest, an echo of memory that refused to surface. "I'm sorry. I wish I could. Do you know why I clawed your arm?" She blinked. "The scars?" "I was terrified. You were a strange creature, and everything was fire and death. When you picked me up, I fought. I left those marks." Jarek's claws extended slightly, involuntarily. "You never flinched. You just held me tighter and kept running. Later, when my mother asked how you could be so brave when I'd hurt you, you said double quotes." He paused, his throat working. "You said, 'How could I be angry at a child for being afraid? Fear is honest.' I'll take honest fear over false courage any day." The observation deck fell silent, except for the ship's ambient hum. Myra stared at the scars on her arm, willing them to speak, to give her back what the plasma fire had stolen. "I became a diplomat because of you," Jarek continued. "I wanted to build bridges the way you did, not with words, but with action, with sacrifice. The Krixathi Accord, the Treaty of New Andromeda, all of it traces back to that day, to what you did. What we all did," Myra corrected softly. "I wasn't the only one in that rescue operation." "No, but you were the only one who went back 7 times. The only one who, when command ordered evacuation, said not yet and dove into Deck 7 when sensors showed it was about to decompress." Jarek's voice hardened with conviction. "You were the only one who proved that humans don't leave people behind. Not even alien cubs they'd never met before." Myra closed her eyes. She could almost feel it. The heat, the smoke, the weight of a frightened child in her arms. Almost. The memory remained frustratingly out of reach, like trying to grasp smoke. "I've spent 20 years wanting to thank you," Jarek said. "To tell you that every cub you saved went on to live full lives. Kareth is a stellar engineer. Vrix teaches xenobiology. Mara has 3 cubs of her own now. You gave us futures. And you?" Myra asked, opening her eyes. "I made myself worth saving." He gestured to his armor, to the diplomatic seals adorning it. "I made myself someone who could stand before you as an equal. Not just a terrified cub." Myra stepped forward and did something that made Jarek's bodyguards tense. She reached up and placed her hand on his armored chest, over where his heart beat. "Jarek, I don't need to remember to know one thing. You were always worth saving. Not for who you become, but for who you were. A child. That's enough. That's everything." For a moment the fierce diplomat wavered, and Myra saw the cub again. the one who'd counted to 1,000 in the dark, believing a strange human would keep her promise. "You did come back," he whispered, all 7 times. "You came back. I always will," Myra said, and somehow in saying it, she knew it was true. Memory or no memory, some truths were written deeper than conscious thought. That's what we do. We don't leave people behind. Jarek's claws caught the light as he raised his hand in the Kriksati gesture of deepest respect. "Then I will ensure my people remember what humanity taught us. That courage is measured not in the absence of fear, but in the presence of compassion." Later, alone in her quarters, Myra traced the scars again. They still told her nothing, but perhaps that was all right. The story lived in Jarek now, in the 42 others, in the peace their survival had helped forge. Some marks run deeper than memory. Some promises transcend the neurons that first made them. And some days, the universe reminds us that we were heroes long before we knew how to remember being human.